My name is Namanta. I'm from Joburg, currently in Cape Town, but I'm from Joburg. And I joined through the university program at WITS.
Cool. And what was it that was so attractive about Krishna consciousness that made you go, yeah, I'm doing this?
Okay, I was doing a degree in social studies, so sociology was one of my majors, history and sociology. And I was, I guess, getting to understand the way the world is set up and all the problems in it.
Okay.
At the same time, so I actually met the devotees in my very first week at university, and I was looking for just something extra. I was already kind of exploring spirituality, but I didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness. I met the devotees, I thought I'd do some yoga, but I actually couldn't make it for any of the yoga programs. My schedule just didn't work. The only thing, and I wanted something kind of different from my studies, but the only thing I could make it for was philosophy, was the philosophy classes. So I went and it resonated. It answered a lot of questions that my course couldn't answer.
Oh, okay.
And so I continued on with those classes. I really liked the prasadam. I really loved the kirtan.
Yeah.
And it took a while to get to a point where I understood that I want to follow this path. But yeah, eventually it happened.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I also kind of, I was getting, I felt like the more I was studying, the more questions I was, my course, the more I was studying, the more questions were unanswered. So there was kind of a struggle between that and Krishna consciousness, and then there were some things I was learning from Krishna consciousness that completely threw my world upside down, and so it was quite a thing, juggling, like balancing the two and figuring my way through it. It
Okay.
was, yeah, I still don't know if it's entirely resolved, but
Okay.
yeah, that's been part of the process. It's like, yeah.
So what made you sort of say, okay, let me make Krishna consciousness part of my life? Like, what was the thing that kind of hit you?
There's things about Krishna consciousness that you can't argue.
Okay.
It's reality. I can't fight it. There's something really beautiful about Krishna consciousness as well that just holds you, and even when you don't want it to, even when you'd rather like go elsewhere, there was just something essential and captivating about Krishna consciousness, and yeah, it definitely on a logical and practical level as well answered the questions I was asking, and so that was it. I think yeah, it's just Krishna. It's just Krishna.
Krishna's so nice, huh?
It can be. He can be also very infuriating sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are many times where I wanted to leave,
Okay.
and I wanted to just. There were okay. This was a major part of my journey actually as well. Is the I guess the movement. There's Krishna
Sure.
consciousness and there's the. I was thinking the other day. There's the institution and there's the movement. Even those two are two different things.
Yes, yes.
The Krishna consciousness movement and the Krishna consciousness institution, and I was so that has been a part of it as well. I was just kind of navigating this space as well, the space of Krishna consciousness, and there are times when I really don't want to be here,
Yeah.
but then there is still the essence of it that keeps me,
Yes.
and so Krishna does that sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you manage to separate the institution from the movement and be able to have that strength to hold on to the essence?
I think that's where Guru Maharaj came in
Okay.
and was yeah, instrumental in helping me do so. He often spoke. He was open about it.
Okay.
You could always ask him your questions, and there's no skirting around. If something bothered you, it was easy to speak to him, and he understood, and he was honest about things. And so I guess that showed me that you can be real, and it's, there, there's an aspect of sort of being part of a society that requires you to kind of accept certain things on a certain level and even don that culture, that image, and we didn't have to do that. Marriage didn't. We didn't have to do that. You could look at that and see that that's not really the thing. We were free to do that. We could be honest with ourselves, and we could be honest with him about it. And so we
Okay.
could. That created, this ability to separate the two, and then rather go into the real, leave the other things, and
Yeah.
just be real about it. And he gave us the space to the freedom to be able to do that.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
I spent some time at living at the temple in Durban, and in 1 year I was there and he was there at the same time, and I was very kind of like low-key about being here in this space. I wasn't like trying to find a spiritual master. I was just taking it slow, but I was there and I was doing service, and but I would go for his classes and everything resonated so deeply. Everything he said, and of course it's kirtan, and there were a few small moments where we would just kind of silently connect. At the end of a class or in passing around the temple, we'd see each other, and like there was like acknowledgement, like I see you. And then at the end of that, towards the end of that stay, somehow we were both there for quite some time, and throughout that time I never spoke to him, but at the end of that stay, there was one evening I was just kind of hanging out outside Prabhupada's room, and I was kind of wanted to go in, and I was kind of holding back, and then he called me. And and we sat and just had a chat, and then that was it. Then 2 years later, um, I I was reflecting on the society, and I wrote something about kind of social, cultural aspects of the society that I was observing, and I wrote that. I put it out, and he found it. He came across it, and he reached out to me.
Okay.
Yeah, and he reached out to me and to say, I hear what you're saying. I understand. Let's chat. Let's talk about it more. And
Okay.
that's where our relationship really started. So a few other things carried on from there, and like with others, some things carried on from there,
Of
but
course.
our relationship started there, and
Okay.
it was not just about that. It was not just about
Yes.
those issues. It started with that, and we started
Yes.
connecting on that, but it became our relationship, and yeah. He said later that year, he gave me the opportunity to go to Mayapur,
Okay.
and I did my Bhakti Shastri, and there, while I was there, he actually didn't come that year, but we connected a lot more. He felt he'd like sort of sent me off into the world, and so he had to take care of me. So he stayed we stayed close in contact, and he gave me that kind of connection point to him. I was able to anytime message him, and
Yeah.
we connected very deeply. And from that time, we just talked. Any questions I had, any frustrations, any feelings, any excitement that I wanted to share with him, he was always so receptive and so present.
Mm.
And so that was our relationship there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is there any like service or instruction that he wanted from you that
Oh
you...
yes,
Yeah?
yes. There he it was there was a lot that he's so yes, he was very present, and he was always kind of giving me guidance, always. And so it's just in general, kind of for my life and for my experience in Krishna consciousness, and then also okay. He also, there were direct instructions. He wanted me to mainly he wanted me to write. Uh, he appreciated my writing, and he wanted me to carry on with that. He appreciated my like a strong voice in writing that comes through
Okay, yeah,
comes
yeah.
through in my writing. When he gave me my name, when he gave me my name, he said it means one who's always bowing down. But he said, "Don't bow down to nonsense."
Wow.
And he was referring to we spoke more about it, the things in the world that would keep us down. He wanted me to speak against them. It started with being African in ISKCON. It started there, and there were that is constant. That is a constant. He wants us to create a space where African people can be free and connect with Krishna. And that was I know that has always been the work that he wants. He wanted me to speak. He wanted me to write. He wanted me to do so in the space of Krishna consciousness in Africa. Yeah, and it's been a struggle, kind of, especially. I think a lot of my time spent with him was connecting with him, creating that solid relationship, and getting to understand exactly what it is he wants. And since then, also, I had my baby as he was leaving. Having a child changed my world,
Okay.
and so there's two things going on. There's Krishna consciousness in Africa that has always been there, um, and I've spent a lot of time talking about it with Maharaj, getting to understand it. Know that my writing is my tool, and he wants me to use it. So that's definitely there. Towards the end of his time here, I was my world changed as I went on this journey of having a child. There's something interesting there as well, because when Guru Maharaj was preparing to leave this world, it was quite a poignant thing that he was doing it without any medical assistance. At this very same time, I was preparing to have my baby, and we were talking about this. We were connecting about this. I birthed without any medical assistance. There was so as he was leaving, and as I was bringing a new life into this world, there was that connection point.
I see.
My life has changed since having him, and what I've come to understand, even more than being African, being in this African body in this world, and it will always connect. But there's something more essential. Firstly, is being a mother in this world, bringing children, children in Krishna consciousness, and it's a painful point for me, because we spend so little time getting to. It's like just at the end of his life, and at this very beginning of we had this small moment of,
Yes.
after all of this connection, we had this very small moment, and I so wish he was here to share so much of what I've learned since then, and to it was a really painful one that he left just as he was 3 months. My baby was 3 months old when Maharaj left,
Okay.
and it also, because it was because I was, this is what I was going through, and he was leaving. But there was less communication, and but it was just this huge thing happening, and how it changes my world, and kind of understanding that, and bringing all these different parts together, and I did get to ask him one question, uh, was what do I do? What do I do? And he said, and it comes back to my writing. He said basically my thinking. That was one thing he always he liked. He wanted us to be thoughtful. He wanted us to think about things beyond just what we get told, or read Prabhupada's books, but think about it. What does it mean in your context? What does it mean in your, and I can't control that part of me. I have to. It's like and he appreciated that. He liked that. So we would have these discussions, and I would never just take things as he told me. I would always question, and he liked that. So and so when I had this, I get to ask him this last question. That's what he pointed to, like, your thinking. Hold on to that, basically, and that will guide you. And but knowing also everything that he, so it has been, and without his direct guidance, I've had to. It's been quite a journey. It's a whole new journey having this child, and looking at the questions, the discussions we've had, and I've had to take what I've known from there and then apply it in this new context, and looking at now bringing a child into this society. What does that mean? Wh- how? What is the what is the just like being African in this movement?
Yes,
What does it
yes.
mean being a child in this movement, or being a
Yes,
mother in this
yes.
movement? Bringing an African child into this movement,
Yes, that's right.
and all of that. The experience that I had, and I think Guru Maharaj, it was so inspiring for us how he chose to leave, and the experience that I had with birth was, I think, the that was where I would always say I for the first time deeply experienced Krishna, and I experienced faith and surrender to Krishna in a way that no book or no temple would have ever been able to show me. It was in that experience, and so I know that it's there where I'm finding this essence. It's in having this child, and the work of raising him in, firstly, how do I raise him in this movement with all its layers, and in the world, and knowing what Guru Maharaj wanted for all of us.
Yes.
Grounding that in this motherhood experience, having to do that, having to kind of pull all these things together from what I got in my relationship with him, from the communication that I had with him, in the little bit of time that we had together. So service, absolutely, writing, absolutely. Oh, in addition to children and African people, Guru Maharaj, he created a space for creators. He wanted
Okay, yeah.
he wanted to he 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 was he gave us a home, and that I think would not have been the same if he was not around. And so to continue to expand that, and I think children are absolutely connected to creativity. Like, that has been one of the big things that I've been thinking about. How do I keep his spirit intact? In a world where there's certain culture, and there's a certain social culture that is not, it's it's not necessarily the essential spiritual teachings that we get. There's so much more than, there's a lot of things that get placed onto that get kind of placed onto and around this essential truth, that it's like cultural, it's social, it's not really. So important to be able to recognize that, and to be able to separate that from the real. And so having a child it's like a like a focal point in that practice. How do I raise him in Krishna consciousness while allowing him to be who he is?
Yes.
And I mean, Guru Maharaj did that for us. So
Yes.
I can draw from my relationship with him in my figuring how to raise my son. Um, and beyond just that, it's to expand that to others
Sure.
within this space.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted big things to be done. You know, he wanted it was not just about your Krishna consciousness,
Yes.
my relationship with Krishna, he always wanted to uh, create that whatever freedom we find, create it for the next person as well. Create it in in your context, in your city or your country, in Africa. Um, and so it's a few things now. It's being African in this movement. It's being a mother. It's having a child in this movement. All of that, and how it all comes together because it does. And I'm still seeing. I'm still making the connections, thinking about things, and understanding. Going back to our conversations, and
Yeah.
but yeah, everything I've experienced in this new service, and I know that he's guiding it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's still present somehow. It's a little harder to see, but when I look at how it all has played out and what it all means, and going back to things that we have shared before, I know it's connecting.